All right, work attire are usually suits. You should wear a suit to
You
school.
don't have to wear a suit. I think it depends on you wear formal, semi-formal, I would say. Christopher, you don't wear suits to work. You don't wear suits to work.
Yes, I do.
You don't.
Yes, I do.
Okay, you do. You do.
Yes, I do. Harry, Josh. Actually, so your company might tell you to wear a suit every day, and the advice they give you is whatever the vice principal is wearing, that's what you should wear. But at schools, teachers tend to change into track suits
The
or
Japanese teachers, but you don't do
Japanese
that.
teachers. Some if you work for a different organization, if you work for the Board of Education, you would probably be doing what your other co-workers are doing. But if you work for a dispatch company, they might have rules as to what you should wear in the classroom or at the school. You aren't allowed to do things like, at least for junior high school and elementary school, you're not allowed to like change your hair color, like dye your hair. You're not allowed. Usually not allowed to. What else? What else can you not do with your hair? I guess junior high school students here really want to dye their hair.
So the idea that you have to, because if they see you doing it,
you have to be an example.
Yeah. Dress professionally, and also remember that you're not just representing the dispatch company, but you're also a representative of your country as well. And for a lot of persons, we're from Jamaica. A lot of Japanese persons are still not familiar with Jamaica and Jamaica. But if you're American or from the UK or Australia, they'll know those countries, because one of the first questions they'll ask you is, where's Jamaica? They did Africa. So you're an ambassador for your country as well. So you also want to make sure that within the workspace that you act in a professional manner, not just because it's your job, but because you're also creating an impression about people, because they sometimes generalize here. And for me, the girls are always saying that I'm cool and I dress nice and all Jamaicans dress like this. So you have to be mindful of that, because they assume that because you're from Jamaica and you dress well, all Jamaicans dress well. So
that's true.
I mean, but I wanted my personalized compliment. Me dress nice, but they generalize, so be mindful of that as well. And don't make it bad for the next Jamaican teacher who's going to go there, or the next American teacher, or the next wherever you're from.
Next foreigner.
Yeah. So that's that. So the next thing, salary.
Salary. Do we talk about things like that? How much you get paid?
Little bit. You want to talk about that?
We get little bit. We're not allowed to talk about our salary.
We not have to talk about salary. Let's move on.
But for some companies, you are allowed, with permission, to work for other companies, to do part-time work. You're not allowed to do certain jobs. So for example, if you're a teacher, because as I said earlier about being a sensei and you need to be respectable, you're not allowed to go and work at a bar, you're not allowed to work in a club, you're not allowed to do certain jobs that would jeopardize your respectability.
And also, I think it has to do with legality too, because if you're coming here, I think for me at least, your visa says instructor. So you have an instructor visa, which means that you should be instructing.
Right.
And if you're not doing that, then you're deviating from the terms and conditions of your visa as well as your contract. So for our company, we have to, if we get a part-time job, you're supposed to inform your company so that they can sort out the legalities of it, so that you don't get in trouble if you're caught teaching outside of what you're supposed to be teaching or where you're supposed to be teaching. So bear that in mind. Okay, so the next one is taxes, pension, and insurance.
Taxes, pension, and insurance.
So like we said earlier, because we only work 29.5 hours, our company doesn't cover pension
or
what?
Or
insurance, yeah. So we have to pay for that. I'm exempted from pension, so I don't have to pay pension.
Why are you exempted from pension?
Because I asked to be exempted.
Why did you qualify for an exemption?
I don't know. That's not something.
Alright, this is actually
I think it has to do with how much you earn too.
correct.
Yeah.
Because of when you started, you would not have earned enough in that year to go over the threshold for pension requirement. Every foreigner, I guess, has to pay pension, and yes, if you aren't making enough money for the year to bring you over the threshold for pension, you can apply for an exemption of that year. But the next year, you would have been earning enough for the length of the year, and you would see that you'd be asked to pay a pension, depending on if you actually do earn that much. If you don't retire here and you leave the country, you only get a percentage of the pension.
I think up to 70 or 80%.
Around there.
Yeah. Makes no sense to me.
That's the main feature. We're obviously not going to go in depth into pension. But if you want to have that security for when you leave, or whenever you'd have access to it, then go right ahead. But most people opt not to until they have to. It's compulsory once you're over the threshold. I think you can go into your office and make an arrangement, right?
The word office.
Right? Make an arrangement with them as to how much you can pay each month, and they might adjust your billing. As far as residence tax goes, the same thing applies. I think you don't pay in your first year because you haven't lived here to be paying tax, so you pay the next year. And depending on where you live, the tax will be higher or lower. Yeah, and it goes up every year, whether your pay goes up or not.
That sucks.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to recommend for our company, I don't know if for you too, you have an IC ceremony. The persons after you've done initial training, there is usually a person, usually a Japanese person who speaks English, who carries you to the municipal office or the ward office where they register your address, because whenever you move in Japan, you have to register your new address with the municipal or the ward office that is closest to you. So they will take you there, and then they will register your address, and then while you're there you can do the exemption at that point in time. That's what I did when I just came. So I asked for the exemption when I went to the office, since the office everything was on the same floor. So you get your residence card, and at the back of that your address is there in Japanese. So every time you move, that changes. That doesn't have anything to do with what I was saying, but I thought we should know that too.
Yeah, that applies to pension, right?
Yeah, for pension.
Right, so that doesn't apply for tax. You don't have to apply for an exemption for tax.
Yeah, but
there's no exemption.
There's no exemption, only for pension.
However, there are deductions that are available for you for health insurance, whether you have a private pension or private health insurance, whether your health insurance, whether your bill for your medical care throughout that year is over a certain threshold, you can get a deduction for that, as well as if you have dependents who live with you or who are overseas in your home country, who you send money to or who you take care of here, you can get deductions for them, but you have to show proof of relationship.
For real?
Yes.
I didn't know that. You're coming like that.
Well, you're learning in this episode as well. So, with regards to the deductions, you can actually get your residence tax bill lowered, or you can get a tax refund at the end of the year. Right, there's a certain period, I think it's between March or February and April, that you can apply to get the refund, but I think you can apply for the deduction or reduction of your bill earlier than that by submitting the documents to the tax office.
Health insurance, it depends on what health insurance that you get. So I think I'm in the national one.
Yes.
So
I don't know. Maybe.
yeah, I
I
think
am.
that's the one that so I pay like 1,200 yen a month.
Because you're first year.
Yeah, and so I think
gonna hit you.
for don't tell. And then for whenever I go to the doctor's office, that covers about roughly 70% of the cost of the visit. So yeah, that's what I pay. That's what I'm paying right now.
Take advantage of
But
that.
you are scaring me by saying that it's going to increase.
Oh, it's gonna increase. Yeah. So that's your taxes will increase and your health insurance will increase every year. I think your pension will increase
Your pay won't increase every year.
Your pay may not increase every year. But again, different companies, different approach. If you work for the Board of Education, it's likely that they will deduct these things out of your pay, and they might also be contributing. Unfortunately, I have not. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, I have not worked with any of those other companies. I've only been with one company, a dispatch company, for my 4 years. But in communication with other people, this is what I'm
hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Gotcha. Next.
Food. What do you before you came here? Did you have any
No, I actually came here intentionally. I didn't study anything. I didn't research anything. I didn't have any real interest in Japan.
Yeah.
I wanted a new experience. But I didn't really know much about Japan.
You know what's strange? Well, I don't know if it's strange. When I came here in our initial training, it was like, oh, Japan.
Sounds
anime,
right.
and I'm like, what? And they're like, what's your favorite character? And I'm like, I don't watch anime. And everybody's like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't. But you know, like you, I'm not a Japanese fanatic, and it's not that I hate Japan culture or anything. It's just that, you know, Japan has like a little cult of people who are so fascinated by them and their culture and everything, and they're into ramen and anime and everything.
There's a name for them. I don't remember it right now. Sorry.
I'm not that person. I just wanted something different.
She just want to look cute.
Something different. But yeah, so I didn't necessarily, I knew that the eater was a ramen, but outside of that, I didn't go out of my way to figure out what is Japanese that like or anything like that.
Well, you want to talk about food in like what context? In like work context?
I mean, we could talk about work and just general life.
Food is very, very, very available everywhere.
Yeah.
You can get food within 10 minutes walk anywhere. But if you're very picky, it might be challenging because it's only Japanese food, mostly Japanese food, I should say. Especially if you're in the rural area, it's gonna be very difficult, and you might need to prepare your own meals.
Yeah, which is what
prepare
I do.
to prepare your own meals, right?
First of all, if you're if you're not a pork eater,
Why?
you're
On
going
the
to
swine.
you might run into some challenges because a lot of the traditional Japanese meal, especially like soup, the broth is usually from pork or something like that, and they have a lot of food that involves bacon or pork or whatever else you want to call it.
I guess we're not gonna really dive into food, but if there will be food that's edible, there's always karage, which is Japanese fried chicken. There's beef bowls, like rice with beef on top. And those are usually cheap. You can get food from convenience stores. They have like prepackaged bentos.
Yeah.
You can get rice balls, which are basically balls of rice or triangles of rice.
Oh god, that's my favorite.
Really cool.
Tuna
Really
mayonnaise, yay!
Right, with filling inside.
So
right?
I like the filling, the tuna mayonnaise filling, and it has the seaweed wrapped over.
Nori, yeah. So it has, yeah. But yeah, food is gonna be available. Sometimes your school has, all the time your school has school lunch, and there's somebody in the office who organizes to buy the teachers lunches, so you can arrange with them whether you want to arrange for a monthly payment and you get lunch, or you want to buy it whenever you feel like. They don't particularly like when you do that because they like things like set in stone. School lunches though are usually pretty good, even if your taste is very.
It smells weird, and that throws me off.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't taste bad, but it has a funny smell, and I'm like, what's this? What is this?
Yeah, it's very what should I say? It's very balanced, right? It can be cold because they'll get the lunches and they'll just put them down, and it'll be cold by the time you get it. But they usually have like fish, chicken, beef, pork, rice,
radish,
noodles, radishes, some vegetables in there. So it's usually like a very balanced meal. Yeah, and as well, one of the greatest things is that if you go to a restaurant and you don't read or speak any Japanese, there are pictures, and you can just say, this one.
Koreoshi.
Okay.
That means I want this.
Okay.
Some restaurants have the English menu, so as soon as you walk in, they assume that you don't speak Japanese. So they're like, oh, ego, English menu.
But if you do, don't take offense. It's not. They don't see foreigners very often. Yeah, so I think that covers food.
But the next one is loneliness.
Loneliness taking over me when you're gone now, darling.
You know what?
Loneliness every day.
Anyway, so loneliness, do you experience? I think for me.
So
For me, I'm a loner, so being alone doesn't necessarily equate to being lonely. I actually enjoy being away from my family. Sorry to that girl, but actually enjoy, because it's the first time I'm alone. I like it, but I mean, for everybody, it gets lonely. It doesn't matter where you're at. For me, you're going to get lonely at some point.
I think in regards to loneliness, it's really kind of a lack of real connection with people. That's kind of difficult to find and maintain because of distance. It's hard to maintain, and because of how Japanese people relate to each other and relate to foreigners. So they're not. They don't. What should I say? And I don't mean to be too general. This has been my experience for the most part, especially because you don't speak Japanese, so you don't blame them. But it's hard to build genuine friendship. I was referring to particularly is that there are certain things you can't really ask a Japanese person and expect it, them to do it for you. Like, you can't borrow money from them, for example, or you can't be in a desperate situation and you're a friend of, maybe you just moved here, so maybe a friend of 3 months. You can't really be like, can you help me to do this? It's not something that they're gonna be willing to do. So that's what I kind of meant. Hopefully, I haven't really been in that situation, thankfully, but I've observed it. And so I hope you don't have to be as well. But my situation is different from other people's situations, so there definitely is people who.
But persons who have asked a Japanese for help financially?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not just that. What I was saying is that I'm sure there are people out there who have real connections with the Japanese people. Probably they speak Japanese, or they found somebody who speaks English, or maybe not. Maybe you find an old lady in your little village who is just really kind and takes you into her house and treats you like a son or a daughter. So that does happen, and that's beautiful. I love hearing about those stories, because we live in the city. We don't really have that. We hope you come and find some genuine Japanese friends, yeah.
Yeah, and I think
friends in general.
what I was going to discuss next is social life and distance. So I think we just kind of spoke about that in a way.
Yeah, your social life, you're going to have to be very proactive.
Yeah.
With regard to that, if you need to have like a very active social life, like if you come into if you're an explorer and you love go out and go to any random place and walk around, and you're gonna be good and talk to people. Good, easy, it'll be a cinch. But if you're kind of an introvert, then it's gonna be tough. You might need to find somebody from your workplace. Thankfully for us, what we have, I think thankfully, lots of people don't like it, but
everyone,
we have a meeting every month.
I like it because I get to meet other people.
Exactly.
I don't see, because we work, even though we work at different schools, we see each other. For that thing that we have every month or every other month. But outside of that, we have a general meeting where all the ALTs converge, and even if we don't discuss anything of matter, we have the opportunity to either meet or to catch up with persons with whom we don't necessarily work with, and you get to meet people from other countries, other cultures, other backgrounds, and that's a great opportunity for you because it provides you a scope on things. Because for me, what resonates the most about being here is that you get to see people live with completely different sets of values and norms that you're used to, different religion and you realize that there is really no hard and fast rule to life, because depending on where you are, different people think differently and they live perfectly fine. So yeah, I think that also helps, and you just get to be exposed. Sometimes you end up having new interests because of the persons with whom you are now meeting, and stuff like that. And yeah, lifelong friendships sometimes, or even if not lifelong, you have good phases of friendships where you get to grow and learn new things.
Yeah, if you have an opportunity to get involved in something, for example, I play basketball, so I met my first Japanese friends. I met playing basketball at my school. One of the teachers introduced me to them they practice at my school, so they brought me to the practice and they introduced me to them. I'm pretty good, so they invited me to their team. Then
Okay.
Anyways, so they invited me to their team and we practiced together, played together, became pretty good friends.
I just think if you come with an open mind, and for me, my advice, peer persons might disagree, don't come with an expectation of anything, because when I first came, the only expectation was to not have any expectations, if that make any sense. No, that doesn't make any sense. But I didn't come saying, oh, it's going to be like this and it's going to be like that, or it's going to be completely positive or it's going to be completely negative. I didn't come with any expectations of anything. I just came with an open mind and an open heart of, learning new things, evolving as a person, and hopefully persons can learn from me, learn more about Jamaica, learn more about that side of the world. I think just come with an open mind. You will meet friends, and of course not all friends will stay, and whether or not you're in Japan, people aren't always going to stay in your life, so don't come with too high or too low of an expectation. Just don't come with none.
The next thing with regard to social life is that you can have fun, but it's gonna be different here. So there are a lot of restrictions on things. You can't you can't really let loose, and that's gonna be a challenge. So I would actually suggest preparing to go back home, prepare to vacation or visit or travel.
So you
or
can
something.
let out all of that.
Right. So you can. If you can't deal with that, or maybe you can let loose. And keep it professional or keep it on the wraps, because that's what Japanese people do.
Exactly.
They do let loose, but you don't know about it.
Yeah.
As well as I believe there's a whole new world whole new world, a new fantastic point of view.
Can't hold a tone over him.
Yeah. That you can discover when you meet Japanese people. So I believe that different people experience different aspects of Japan because of, you know, the roads that you travel and the people you know. So the more people you know, the more experiences you'll have, and yeah, the more friendly you are and the more likely you are, the more people you'll know. So that's that. Yeah.
You done?
I think so.
Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Subscribe. I need speech therapy, Chris, because every time I come on here, I. Anyways, guys. Bye bye.
Bye. Wait.